Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today are Bishop Robert Griffin, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world.
In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, with Queer News Tonight sharing over 11,000 stories and 11 million views so far. In February, we produce Pride Fort Lauderdale.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Queer Christians dare to re-examine Christianity. To worship virginity, as in the veneration of a perpetual virgin, is to glorify celibacy. To insist that a virgin mother is required to have a holy child is to denigrate human sexuality. To call God Father or Lord without also calling God Mother or Goddess sacralizes maleness and reduces femininity to a secondary place at best. To insist on a hell requires that someone has to be there. To worship violence, such as the crucifixion, is to make certain that the worshipers will all too often embrace and perpetuate violence. To proclaim that one's savior, prophet, messiah, master teacher, avatar, divine messenger is the only way to avoid afterlife torment is to see most of the world as damnable and damned. The dogmatic, doctrinaire apologists reduce Christianity to a club for the select few and a weapon against the other. The heretics, those who defy and challenge and offer alternatives to the enshrined and fiercely protected dogmas, are the ones who can redeem Christianity and return it to the way of Jesus, a countercultural lay philosopher and prophet who was viewed as a healer and as an alternative to the unjust ways of empire. To reclaim the radical Christ, even if it means dismantling Christianity, is the gospel's hope. Reason, compassion, data with room for some mystery, and mystery that is not afraid of facts, and questions that will not all find satisfactory answers, and answers that may challenge old assumptions. These will be the saviors of Christianity. Thought and emotion are needed for balance. Is Christianity brave enough and wise enough to embrace the balance? And are queer Christians the prophets and mystics and shamans and wizards to help facilitate the healing of the faith? I do hope so. I do hope so. Because otherwise, if we can't fix this mess, a couple of millennia in the making, but if we can't at least create a segment of it that it makes sense, then the whole thing, I think, is going to become too toxic. It should die. If the MAGA version of Christianity is what it is to be, then let it die today. Christianity that overlooks or condemns the poor while praising and embracing unrestricted capitalism, nothing could be more unlike Jesus. Christianity that celebrates the incarceration of people for all kinds of really not super serious crimes, and for things like wanting to be here, to incarcerate, to separate families, to torment people because they didn't come here in a prescribed way, when really they were just running for their lives and trying to find a better one somewhere. Surely there's a way we can help them enculturate, become part of things without just, condemning them and tearing their families apart and shaming them and holding them forever in unacceptable conditions. That's not Christian. But it's not, you can see why. If the best thing you think ever happened in the world was the execution of someone, if the best thing you think ever happened for humankind was someone being tortured to death, and that was God showing love for us, right? Our heavenly parent jacked up its favorite kid, just so the rest of us would be barely acceptable. You can't hold that ideology and truly be fully compassionate. You can't say the best thing that ever happened was a ritual sacrifice. and still be kind, and still be nonviolent. You can't be nonviolent if you worship violence. If you're insisting that, bad people go to hell, or people who don't have the right opinions go to hell, or people who aren't part of the right group go to hell, all these silly reasons why you would go to hell, but that makes the creator of hell no better than the people we wish to be there. Because can you imagine the mentality it would take to create such a place?
Yes.
And to decide that there's rules, whether it's what your opinion is or whose group you're part of or whatever, who you worship, that if you don't meet this criteria, you just don't get to be left out. You get to be tormented in unimaginable ways, and maybe forever. Who would think this up? If you think Charles Manson should be in hell, well, it would take a Charles Manson to create a hell, right? I mean, so we've got to fix this. And one of the ways I think we can fix it is just by naming it and saying this is the language we've inherited, and this is what we're doing with it today. We can preach against it, we can reinterpret it, we can offer alternatives, we can compare it to other religious and philosophical views. We can talk about it in lots of ways. But what we can't do is just go on business as usual. And people say, well, but we know that really when we say this, not everybody knows.
Right.
No.
So we've got to make it clear that if Abraham, if he even existed, if he was willing to sacrifice Isaac, he was a madman. And we've got to say that if Jephthah killed his daughter because of a promise he made to God, a promise he didn't even need to make, and if God would hold him to that promise, if some innocent girl is slaughtered for a promise that she had nothing to do with, you can't say that's a good thing. And there is a whole line of theology that says that if God does it, it is good. That God doing it makes it good. So God can do horrific things because then it's good because God did it. Do you see the psychosis of that line of thinking? King David, a man after God's own heart, best person, but he was a rapist and a murderer. And hello, right? So, and I'm not saying that he wasn't in other ways devout. I'm not saying he didn't regret some of his horrible choices. And yet, I don't think a man after God's own heart kills a woman's wife, a woman's husband, and then summons her, without her consent, to handle business. And then, of course, marries her, because, that makes it all okay. We've got to say, this is wrong. It was wrong then, it's wrong now. But these are our stories, this is our history. Let's talk about how we have evolved, how we're now better than this, and how we're going to do better from now on. That's the way we can keep the stories. But to act like they came from God, that they are beyond critique, and then to keep it going, to say that that only a virgin could have a holy son, that only a holy son could get God to tolerate us, and that's by him being killed. And that if you don't fit into this, if you don't believe all this, then what you get to do is burn in hell that God created for just such people as you. Sane people. Now, if you grew up indoctrinated about that, then it's like looking at your own cheek. You don't see it. But sane people outside of that are never going to want to be part of that. And some of the people who haven't seen it yet because they can't see their own cheek need to re-examine it and see how they've been part of something very hurtful and how they can deconstruct and reconstruct something to be healing, to heal the hurt that we've unintentionally been part of causing.
Well, I would just say that I think that if we don't dare to re-examine, we are doing a disservice and a malpractice to our profession. And not only that, but we're also doing a disservice to those who actually need to hear the other side of the story, if you will, the liberation that comes along with all of this, the understanding that comes along with all of this. And, if I were to take the Bible stories and lay them next to archaeological studies and things along those lines, I can assure you, sitting here right today, I'm going to go with the archaeological studies.
You can't, when the data's there, it's there.
Temples were built in the Bible, and this was in the Bible, and, the mass exodus with Moses and crossing the Red Sea, and scientific data has already said there's no scientific data that proves that, to say that large amount of people moving would have left behind trails of evidence that happened. So I think we have to re-examine the stories. We have to re-examine all of them. And first find ourselves in them, live our lives in them by liberating it, and then sharing it with other people. We got to re-examine them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. some of the nastiest people I've ever met in my life identify as a Christian. Now,
Word.
yeah, exactly. Now, when I went to seminary, I remember sitting in class and a classmate of mine got up and left because we were doing the hard work of learning the stories, really digging deep, looking at the culture, looking at the time, looking at everything, the context, the translations. And the classmate said, I can't take this back to my congregation. They will throw me out. You remember that, Rev Dev?
I was going to share a similar story. Yes.
Yeah. So what I've done just for my own personal well-being is I don't identify as Christian anymore. People say, oh, you're a pastor, you must be Christian. Well, I identify as a follower of Jesus. Exactly. I look at the stories. I look at the context. I look at the times. I look at, okay, these are stories. These are stories. But I will follow Jesus. And I will follow him as my example. But the rest of this stuff, no way.
Yeah. And he could be a great example if his mother was a Bourbon Street prostitute.
Exactly,
Yes. In fact, maybe even a better word. Because look at where
we could relate to that. Yes.
My goodness. We had similar experiences at different schools. I went to 3 very different schools. One was Dutch Reformed, and in that one of the students got up and said, I cannot bring this back to the congregation. My pastor said, get your master's and leave it at the door.
Yeah.
How do you tell somebody that, but this is what this person said?
That's a lot of money to leave at the door.
I'm telling you, Episcopal Divinity School, I ran into some of the greatest people there who had great open minds. I went to a Catholic university and actually got my master's from that Catholic university, and the stories that I told to my classmates in the beginning scared the living daylights out of them. They were like, how did this heretic get in here? So as the teachers in a Catholic university were sharing truth, not what you would expect necessarily, but truth according to what they understood the Bible to say, not what
data,
so many,
not dogma.
data,
exactly.
not just dogma.
Perfect.
They shared that information. My classmates began to blossom, some of them did, and they realized that they were fed a lot of crap as they were growing up, and they had to learn how to, just like I did, because in the beginning, I was, Darrell can tell you that I was a hot mess. But I realized that what we were learning was truth. And that takes care of a lot of things. When we realized that that library, that Bible, is written by many, 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 many people over many, 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 many years, we realized that each author really was speaking to their community in a language that their community understood. And once you understand that, you have to look at it from 21st century eyes. We know more today than we knew then, than they knew then, and we have to start living like that. And a lot of my classmates got it, and they were able to grow and blossom. Yay.
And I think a lot of the issues I have with being identified as a Christian today is if someone says, oh, you're a Christian, then they're already overlaying their Christianity
Their
on you.
understanding of it.
Not necessarily my understanding of what it means to be a Christian. And then you have to kind of defend it. No, I'm not that type of Christian. So I think that's a reminder. Yeah, I'm proud of, I was like, I'm just who you need me to be. What do you want?
Yeah. And this idea, I mean, this is a queer theology perspective, a queer hermeneutic anyway, to spoil these oppressive uses, to spoil, to tip over, to overturn these the ways these have been used. That is queer theology.
Yes.
That's what is to say. Okay, this has been used oppressively. How can we just tear that apart and build something better that's more inclusive and more empowering? That's feminist theology. That's black theology. Right. That's all of these. That's liberation theology. So we have to do it. We have to do it to save Christianity. And okay, so let it die. Why do you want to save? Because there are so many Christians. We want to save Christianity and make it better, which is what has always happened. That's what Luther wanted. Yes. It didn't work out. That's what Calvin wanted. It didn't work out. That's like every time. That's what Swedenborg wanted. It's what the Wesleys wanted. There's always comes. It's what the Azusa Street Revival wanted. There's always these movements. We're going to fix it, and then it just becomes another movement, and you have to do what they say, and it's rules and blah blah. So okay, let's be a movement to try to repair and make it better. And even if we succeed, it's going to need another reboot and update within a generation or two,
Yes.
because life evolves. And if your faith doesn't evolve with it, what good is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, I want to invite you to check out our Performing Arts series. Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts has a great acts lined up for the 2025 and 2026 season. Here is a taste of what's coming up.
Golden Ghouls, picture it. Halloween 2025 will be on our stage one night only. That's October 25th.
Then on November 7th, we welcome back Miss Coco Peru in Fuck This Shit. If this show is like her other tours de force, there will be storytelling, laughs, singing, and a moral to tie up the evening. Or maybe this one is entirely different. You'll have to come to the show to know for sure, but you already know it's going to be one of the best nights of comedy and drag artistry you will have enjoyed all year.
December 7th brings Matthew Darren's annual Holiday Fantasia, always amazing, and this year it will again be co-hosted by Varla Jean Merman.
And in 2026, there are already some great shows lined up, such as Selections from Pearly, a musical based on the play Purely Victorious by Ossie Davis on February the 7th. For more information about these shows and others, and to secure your tickets, go to sunshinecathedral.org/arts.
Please like and share this episode on your social media and look for Sunshine Cathedral on Facebook or Instagram.
You can also like our individual pages on Facebook. Remember to visit sunshinecathedral.org frequently. There you will find Bishop Talk, where Bishop Darrell and I interview queer religious leaders, activists, and scholars.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we're all in this together. And also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.